scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize. Which side are you?
Yeah.
Sup?
What is happening?
What is happening, my people?
This is Remarks. It's
is.
a podcast. My name's Taylor.
I'm Phoebe.
And we saw a horror movie last night.
We did. I was going to talk about it. I
Yeah.
wondered if you wanted to let the people know.
I did want to let the people know. Skinamarink.
Yeah. It fucked me up. I was so heavily disturbed by it. I feel like it's definitely worth seeing because it's very
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't think it's for everybody for sure, but I think that
yeah.
everybody could see it and you could. I mean, obviously, I guess you could see anything, but get your own opinion on it. I suppose.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, that's full. I feel like that's totally understandable, but also you might love it.
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It got me down in the depths of my fright sensors.
Mm-hmm.
And last night I was I literally ran and jumped into bed like a kid, and then I was taking my water bottle off my nightstand, and I'm sure it was me. I must have knocked. I have a gazillion fucking books stacked up on my own nightstand, and I moved my water bottle, and they all fell over, and I was like,
oh my god. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's again. I feel like I was talking about this a little bit before we all went our separate ways last night after the movie. But there's this movie that Justin and I watched called Possum.
yeah, what's the deal with that one?
It's kind of like a British. I don't know if the Babadook is British or not, but it's.
I think it's Australian.
Yeah,
but
it's
anyway.
like a British The Babadook, but the puppet thing that's in it, because there's a puppet, and it's the most fucking creepy ass looking puppet in the entire world. And I remember driving home from Justin's house, I was envisioning it everywhere I was looking, It's
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of my head. That shit was probably the last one that really fucked me up.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And that
that's
was definitely this one for me. I haven't been freaked out after watching a horror movie in a really long time, and I was freaked.
Yeah.
Freaked.
It was, yeah, and again, I feel like it built really good
It totally did.
mood and vibes.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of tension.
Yeah, no, it was interesting for
It
sure.
It was. Support independent films.
True. Yeah, and that's
Everyone.
another thing is I feel like even if you don't like it, you should go and see it or at least purchase it, rent it or something to support the director.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they can make, with a bigger budget, an even better horror movie.
Exactly,
So,
because it was a $15,000 budget or
it was
something.
tiny budget,
Tiny.
a micro budget of micro budgets.
Yeah, yeah. Which to me, I'm $15,000 is a lot of money, but I
True.
mean, making a movie costs a fucking millions of dollars. So
I think the biggest cost too, that you don't think about is equipment and stuff.
That's
is
exactly.
a really big part of it. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, but anyway, this is not a movie review podcast. Although,
Truly.
is it?
Yeah, I mean,
Kind
we did
of.
kind of talk about shows and movies
Kind
a lot.
of.
Yeah.
Well, shall I talk about what we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
Introduce our little sub.
Is it? I mean, yeah, you can talk about.
I mean, you will go first. Taylor will
For sure.
present first his PowerPoint slide.
Yes.
But yeah, we just figure everything is so horrific all the time
Yep.
that, especially after our last president's episode, I think Taylor and I were both just very depressed.
Bummed out.
Yeah. So we thought about let's just talk about something uplifting this week.
True. Let's just have a good, solid, happy week.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Something to help you guys get through.
Everything is bad all the time is a song I wrote.
Yes, it is a song, and it is factual.
Actually true, yeah. All right. So, my little topic today, or my little spiel, is titled "Anarchy Good?" ?
Answer: yes.
I would say so. In an effort to not bum everyone out all the time, we're going to be talking about a little bit more of an uplifting topic today. We're going to talk about how humans react in situations that would typically spark what some would call chaos and anarchy, but anarchy derogatory.
Right,
you know?
yeah, parentheses
Yeah.
derogatory.
Anarchists get a bad rap often because of the stereotypes about how humans will act in situations that don't have governmental control. Many studies show that in times of crisis, the conventional social structures subside, or where consensual social structures subside, human beings often lose the constructs of class and race that divide us in everyday life. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it, folks.
Most of the research for this is from the book Tribe by Sebastian Junger. It's very good. I would suggest reading it if you like reading books.
That will definitely be my next one after the book that I'm reading that has to do with my subject this week.
Whoa. So research by Shelley Taylor shows that during catastrophic events, humans tend to be more cooperative and display friendly behavior than in everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
A Heinrich and Dawan's study shows that men are more likely to be trusting of others after periods of intense stress. And that is specifically like a study on men. Throughout most of history, humans have not been isolated in the ways that humans are currently. Capitalism and Western ideology have poisoned how we interact and support one another. Walls have built us into a box of individualism and luxury consumerism that for most of history did not exist in humankind.
Right.
It's actually very recent, like within the past, 1,000 years seems like a long time, but like if you like across the course of human development, it's not really that long.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like the past 1,000 years is when we like started being like, no, I don't want to live in a community with you. I want to live in my own little box,
Because what was 1,000 years ago? Early 1900s?
That would have been
or
100 years ago.
Oh, duh.
So we're talking like 1,000 AD onward,
Okay.
So like, I mean, and you can, I mean, I guess like medieval times are like 14 and 15.
I'm so stupid. I'm so
fine.
bad at math. This is a prime example of how horrible I am at math, you guys.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, like I think the Middle Ages are like 1400s to 1500s.
Okay.
Into like the 1600s.
Okay.
I don't know all the eras of human existence off the top of my head.
I don't even know how to do basic math, so.
We need to get a math consultant.
I know,
for the podcast.
just a third person to sit like in the corner and they just like correct us on math, and that's like, literally it.
Actually. Yeah. So, in times of distress, when people feel less in control and vulnerable, it would seem that human beings begin to rely on each other in ways that harken back to our evolutionary need for connection. Anthropologists show that throughout history, living alone and more specifically providing for oneself solely outside of a community setting isn't how humans evolved or evolved to live and survive. It's common for some military veterans to long to return for a time of war, not specifically because they want the bloodshed of war to happen again, but more so return to the level of connection and friendship that was shared among them and the soldiers that they were fighting alongside. Trauma bonds aren't necessarily a good thing to have, but there is an evolutionary reason why they exist.
Right.
If you know you can trust somebody with your life, you form that kind of connection that you don't really form anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
The level of trust and deepness of connection that one experiences with another person cannot be understated in that kind of situation.
Right.
With with veterans specifically.
Right.
There has been a distinction made between chronic stress and acute stress. Living in an environment of chronic stress obviously has a negative effect on the well-being of humans. So if you're like constantly stressed all the time.
So all of us.
Yeah, so pretty much all of us right now under capitalism. So that's what, like chronic stress. Chronic stress grinds down the body faster than Molly grinds down the teeth of an 18-year-old raver. Is what I wrote here. Amen. Here's a quote from a Scientific American article. Acute stress may help remind us of a fundamental truth, our common humanity. Understanding our shared vulnerability, life makes no promises, may be frightening, but it can inspire kindness, connection, and desire to stand together and support each other. Acute stress, as unpleasant as it may be, may also be an opportunity to experience the most beautiful aspects of life, social connection and love. So again, kind of just basically saying that like in these stressful situations, that are more acute stress, so not like years long chronic being grinded
Yeah.
down, you see people form these kind of bonds that are very strong.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think we've seen prime examples of that, especially recently. And I don't want to like steal your thunder if you're
No,
going to talk
please.
about this, but like with COVID, I mean, obviously that was terrible and we saw a lot of people acting terribly. However, like I think that within our communities, we saw like an immediate like human beings trying to figure out, okay, how do we function in this new way and still have human connection? How do we support each other? How do we get groceries to the elderly lady who can't leave her house? Like I would say specifically in Salt Lake, like there pretty immediately was like a whole network, the mutual aid.
Yeah, like was it COVID mutual aid?
Yeah,
or
COVID-19 mutual aid,
Yeah.
who got together and like collected a shit ton of groceries and sent it out to Navajo Nation, who gave groceries and money to people that were in need, who just like
Yeah.
supported the community. And it was like a whole network of other community people, and then other people got involved in like, yeah, I feel like I saw firsthand like this type of thing happen, which was
Yeah.
like, oh fuck, this horrible like unprecedented thing is happening. How do we all make life better for each
Yeah,
other?
how do we do it? Yeah. And especially with something where like everybody is experiencing the same kind of like turmoil, and maybe not to the same degree in the sense that like I'm not immunocompromised as some people are, but
Sure.
we're all kind of living under the same terrible event that's happening. So I feel like it's a lot easier in those situations to sympathize and empathize with other people
Right.
versus like, I guess in normal everyday life, when you see somebody starving, it's not good.
Exactly.
But again, you kind of tend to be more thoughtful in situations where the struggle, I guess.
Yes. And I feel like we see this with like natural disasters as well,
Yeah.
like earthquakes and hurricanes and all of these things. We just see like the community going out and supporting each other as like kind of a knee-jerk response to
True.
this like mass.
Oh, yeah. People want to help. And that's what we're going to talk about.
Hit us.
So on September 7th, 1940, Nazi German bombers began to relentlessly bomb the cities of Britain. This was known as the Blitz. Basically, overnight, thousands of people would be displaced into shelters, and many hundreds of people were killed in the consistent bombings. It was thought by the British government and officials that paranoia and chaos would break out in the streets. They were like, oh, it's going to be fucking insane. It was reported that police were actually never once called to the shelters. Actually, the displaced people in the shelters began to police themselves and created social rules and structure that was enforced by the inhabitants themselves. One man wrote of the time, 10,000 people had come together without ties of friendship or economics, with no plans at all as to what they meant to do. They found themselves literally overnight inhabitants of a vague twilight town of strangers. At first, there were no rules, rewards, or penalties, no hierarchy or command. Almost immediately, laws began to emerge, laws enforced not by police or wardens, but by the sheltered themselves. So, pretty rad.
Yeah.
Cases of bomb-related mass hysteria did not increase, but actually decreased. It was shown that other mental illnesses subsided and improved during the time as well. Psychiatric wards in France were shown to lessen in patients during both World Wars. People who would have traditionally been tossed to the side of society for their mental health issues found themselves driving ambulances and contributing to the cause and the community. So it's very interesting. I'll continue here. An Irish psychologist found that suicide rates fell 50% during the 1969, or wait, it might be 1996 riots. And it was the Troubles. The Irish Troubles.
Yeah.
Homicide and other violent crimes also declined during that time, once again showing that when people have a cause that they can put their support and time into, it improves their mental health.
Right.
Which I don't think is like a crazy revelation or anything,
Sure.
but it is interesting that even during like something as horrific as like the Blitz,
Yeah.
mental health improves because people are like, they feel needed,
Right. And I think it's like it's the type of events that like bring us together, these sort of like larger, like you were saying, these larger all-encompassing events. Like everyone in Ireland was living through the Troubles,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
everyone was experiencing the Blitz in that area. And so it's just like this automatic
People understood, yeah.
move to, okay, well, we're in survival mode and we need to support each other.
Well, and I think, again, it kind of, when you tie that along with like what I was saying at the beginning, where like human beings aren't meant to live as isolated as we are.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of mental health issues do come from that, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
The lack of connection that we feel with one another. And not to say that all of them do. Of course, there's naturally mental health issues that are chemical imbalances. They are these things. But I think that if nothing else, those things do get worsened by not having that kind of like community support that we evolutionarily need.
Absolutely. You know?
Yeah. Excuse me. H.A. Lyons, an Irish psychologist, was quoted stating, "When people are actively engaged in a cause, their lives have more purpose, with a resulting improvement in mental health. It would be irresponsible to suggest violence as a means of improving mental health. But Belfast findings suggest that people will feel better psychologically if they have more involvement with their community." So kind of just the same thing there.
Yeah.
You will feel a lot better. And I think that that's kind of also something that's been proven. You know, people feel generally happier when they do a lot of like volunteer work and they give back, you know, to their communities and things like that. I think that, you know, that's also not a huge revelation, but when you kind of tie it all together and how it combines in with like capitalism and how it like capitalism very much pushes us to look out for only ourselves. Right. I think it is very telling.
Yeah.
The Allies also bombed the fuck out of German cities during World War II. Kind of worse, actually.
Yeah.
And a similar effect was seen as in Britain, proving that it wasn't simply a fluke or something that was only seen in one specific area. Even when the cause that the people were gathering around wasn't what we would see as a noble cause, people find solace in community and suffering with peers. This is, of course, not to imply that the German people deserved to be bombed, because many of them did not know the atrocities that were being committed.
Right.
However, many of them did know that there was something anti-Semitic in nature going on, and the same effect was seen among the German civilians. So it's not necessarily just to say that like, oh, the Allies in World War II were so noble that they like band together around this cause.
Yeah.
Because again, a lot of the people in Britain didn't know what was going on in Germany, you know, as far as like the Holocaust was concerned. So it has more to do with the actual community and less to do with like the cause that they were gathering around. Yeah, so during tragedies, class, race, and other divides seem to fade away. You know what else fades away? Our podcast when we transition to ads.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well said.
I was working on that one.
Yeah.
I love this. So there's a podcast I really like called The Dollop, as everybody knows. And one of the hosts, like his little, because they do like a little ad at the beginning where they like go over like the live shows that they're going to be doing, because they're also like comedians. And he like comes out and he's like, "What is doll up, everyone?" That's a little thing I've been working on. And every time he fucking says it, I like I chuckled to myself because it's funny. Gotta love it.
Podcasts. Anyway.
Can't live with them. Can't live without them.
True.
Anyway. Ads. Howdy. We are back, and we're still talking about horror movies.
We are.
I don't know. I really like horror movies, although I did not like Smile. I thought it was bad, and I don't think you should watch it unless you really want to. Maybe you'd like it.
Then go ahead. Yeah. But yeah, that one looked kind of.
And also, like, it's like, I don't know, is the like weird smile filter that they like put over. I was like, is this a Snapchat filter right now? Like, it's like not very creepy. It's like, I don't know, kind of creepy, I guess, in the sense that like it's weird when someone's just like sitting there smiling at you for no reason.
Sure.
But it wasn't like it was just like, I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of silly, I guess.
I feel like I love a bad or like campy horror movie when it knows what it is.
Yeah.
But when they're trying to take it, like Megan, hilarious. But like, or the Fear Street series, loved that. But like when they're trying to take it so serious, I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah, when they're self-aware, it's good. That's
Yeah.
why I liked *Malignant* so much. 'Cause
Exactly.
It was very self-aware. It
Yes.
felt like,
Yes.
like it was crazy. It was insane. But
Yeah.
it knew what it
Oh,
wanted
that
to
movie.
be. Yeah, it's fucking insane. So yeah, listeners, if you've watched any of these, comment your thoughts.
Yeah, I would
below.
actually love to know. I want to know.
Truly.
And give us your horror recs.
Yeah, no, for sure. Honestly, once I get the fucking streaming able to work, we could stream us watching a horror movie. That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah, that'd
I'd
be.
love it.
And we can make.
Because I feel like also
witty
we're
commentary.
really funny,
Oh yeah,
especially everyone together. So we could just like get the whole pals
Yeah,
together and just
truly.
be really funny.
I agree. That would be fun. And like, I don't know. It's. I remember because I don't know if I feel like I've mentioned secret podcast character Eden on the podcast
I think
before.
you have.
Yeah.
At this point.
But when Eden started hanging out with us, I was like, yeah, so we like to watch movies and like rip on it. So if you like actually want to watch the movie, you maybe shouldn't come to this function because we are going to make an insane amount of jokes
the entire time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
To the point where like even people that do like making all the jokes get kind of annoyed sometimes.
Yeah.
They're like, shh, I want to watch this part. Oh, it's good.
It's fun. Good times.
Anyway,
Anarchy.
So May 31st, 1970, in Yungay, Peru, there was a huge earthquake that ended up killing nearly 90% of the population. Now, I know I said that this wasn't going to be a bum you out episode, but hear me out.
Gotta have the dark to have the light, you know?
Exactly. This was obviously a significant tragedy, yet the surviving 10% of the population banded together to provide for each other during this time. Private property faded and resources were shared among the communities of people who needed them. Here is a excerpt from that book, Tribe. Concepts of individual private property temporarily submerged. The crisis also had an immediate status leveling effect in the nascent community of survivors it created. A sense of brotherhood prevailed as Indian and mestizo, lower and upper class, collaborated in the collective efforts to obtain immediate necessities and survive. So again, kind of another thing where, like, again, like as you were saying with natural disasters,
Yeah.
like, and you could also even look at like Hurricane Katrina, for example.
Exactly.
Like,
I was gonna say
there are people that came from all over the country to go down and help out with the relief effort down there, which that was huge, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like it's just when it's these large affecting disasters, it's like something like they were saying, it's like, you know, a cause to rally yourself behind, but the cause is just like help your fellow neighbor survive instead of like, you know, having to lend yourself to like a political cause or something, which I think can just like add more like chronic stress to the person. This is like something that can feel relieving in a moment of insane acute stress. And
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, I think that like it's interesting because it's not like something that you want to happen, obviously. Like this is a horrific tragedy, but it's just interesting how human beings like react when things do kind of like when shit does kind of hit the fan, like what our like instinctual thing is to do it. It's not to like have mass chaos and, you know, anarchy, derogatory. Like usually more often than not, people don't want to see other people suffer and like, be, you know, displaced or whatever the tragedy is, you know?
When you look at things like, I don't know, like The Walking Dead, for example, and I feel like sure there might maybe be some Negans in the world, but I think 99% of the world would be, how do we like support each other and create a new life and make sure that there's not more of these zombie creature people? Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's, again, kind of, I feel like pop culture has convinced us that like, oh, if we didn't have a government or like society as the way it was, then everything would crumble and it would be this insane, you know, mass hysteria. And it's like, probably not, actually.
Yeah, like I feel like I mean, as we've just been saying, it's your natural instinct to help people survive.
Correct. So the last example I wanted to bring up for the connectedness of humans during times of crisis is October 23rd, 1958. the Spring Hill mine in Nova Scotia collapsed. It was a mine in Canada. This story is really interesting because I think it highlights how every person and like your own specific traits and your own, the things that you are good at and who you are as a human is needed in these kind of communities, no matter who you are. 174 men were trapped in the mine when the collapse took place. 74 of them were killed instantly. 19 were trapped and didn't make it out. 81 men were able to make their way to safety and be together, while 2 were pinned by the mine and couldn't make it back to the group. The men didn't have much food and water and only a few days' worth of battery power left in their headlamps. The miners that were not in the mine began to dig to rescue the miners. So immediately, like, the other miners started digging to pull out the survivors.
Yeah.
Sometimes working in areas so cramped that they had to break off the handles of their pickaxes to swing them, making it very difficult to swing them, obviously.
Yeah.
It was difficult to continuously work. Even the burliest of miners could only swing 4 or 5 times, yet it was said that the pick never stopped. So they were just constantly trying to pull these guys out. The men eventually ran out of food and water and began to drink their own urine and eat coal and bark to subside their hunger.
Jesus.
This was a nightmare situation for these miners, obviously. Almost immediately, some of the men took leadership roles that would scout out potential routes for escape. They were also instrumental in getting the men to do things like drink their own urine and eat the bark, or to attempt to survive. So they kind of were you have to do this. This is what we need to do to literally survive.
Right.
These men were shown to have less empathy and cared less about the opinions of others. They were analytical and more what we would see as a cold leader, who had to make the hard decisions, kind of that archetype. After the escape attempts failed, a new set of leaders emerged. The leaders in what is known by psychologists as the survival period were more focused on the morale of the group, leading in the mental health and stability of the group. They were men who were very sensitive to people's thoughts and needs and were instrumental to the miners who began to give up hope. They cared heavily about being accepted by the entire group. Mm-hmm. The leaders in the beginning phases of the tragedy and the leaders that took over after were almost entirely different people with different personalities and skills in different areas. And at the end of the tragedy, 39 men were killed, but 88 men were rescued from the disaster. A lot of the credit can be given to the men who came together to survive in an almost impossible situation to come out of. And I think that that's just really interesting to highlight how different the traits and the things that are needed from again a group of people that are trying to survive, whether that's surviving in a catastrophe like this, or if it's even just a community of people that are surviving day to day.
Yeah.
How every aspect of a person is needed. It's not just the burly leaders who don't care.
Exactly.
Because they were helpful in the beginning, but they again were, when it went into the survival period, they weren't needed as much. Or again, they were kind of the newer leaders emerged, the ones that were more connected and more emotionally available, I suppose.
Yeah, because I feel it's always kind of said, it's oh, you got to be a strong individual and blah blah blah, and sensitivity is always regarded as a weakness, but this is just proof that it has its strength, and people who are extremely sensitive in our society have an important role that's just as important as the people that are keep going
get
and
things done.
They're hard and tough, and you can also be soft and squishy and be extremely instrumental in survival.
Well, I think that far too often, especially in regards to toxic masculinity, you're expected as a man to be very tough and gruff, and cold when it comes to leading, leading, because again we have this we live in a patriarchy, so the majority of leaders are men,
right?
And so a lot of those that kind of care side of things does end up taking the shoulders of women. But again, in this situation, there weren't any women there. It was a coal mine, so obviously not a big job, especially back in 1970, or when the fuck was this? 1958. So obviously not a lot of women in the coal mine. And you see like men even rising to this kind of emotional and caretaking role that, again, has been more or less demonized a little bit like as a trait in men in common times, I suppose.
Yeah. When you even look at like workplace structure, and like when you have leaders in the workplace that are caring and nurturing and caretaking, you will have a better workplace environment and a more successful workplace environment, and lower turnover rate, and better numbers if you must turn it into something capitalist, you know. True. Like, just being a caring and sensitive person, I think is just fosters like advancement in any sense.
And I think that too, like, you know, there is a time and a place to have cold people, or people who can look at things more analytically, you know. I mean, in a company setting, you know, as well, like, there's people that gotta tell you the straight facts, like, your company's gonna fucking be bankrupt or whatever.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I remember I was actually talking, I think it was with Daniel once about this, actually, but we were talking about, like, how there is, like, somewhat of, like, an evolutionary need for people who are like psychopaths.
Yes, yes. And I think I was there for that conversation, or you and I have had this kind of conversation.
And it's like, if you're in a tribe and you don't have enough food for everybody, like, who's going to make the decision that like these older people, we gotta leave them behind, you know?
Exactly.
You need someone who is cold, who doesn't have that kind of empathy, as much as you need someone who does have that empathy and is able to cultivate that kind of hospitality.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there is literally a place for everyone in our society, including people who lack emotion.
True. At least in the way we evolved. I don't know.
Sure.
Under capitalism, I think that it usually turns into something very negative.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's what has, and I mean, obviously, I think that's what has like ruined structure for us, and like ruined the gifts that we've been given in all different ways of like the need for somebody who has psychopathic tendencies. When you add capitalism to the mix, then that person just becomes dangerous.
Yeah,
can be. Yeah, not always.
Say,
I want to.
There are some make sure that people with antisocial personality disorder that are just like normal people.
Yes,
you know?
And you're absolutely right. So yeah, want to make sure that I put that out there.
Yeah, it's
but yeah, or like narcissistic personality type things can become exacerbated and turn into like something that can be harmful under capitalism.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, again, like if you look at like the evolutionary need for something like PTSD, like it actually, you know, if you suffer a traumatic experience and your body is like in that trauma, you know, it causes you to sleep very lightly and to overreact to things that could be potentially dangerous situations. And it's like, as difficult as of a thing as that is, like in our current society, that is a very useful skill or a useful thing to happen if you are in a situation where you're in danger.
Sure.
You know, again, in a more like tribal, primitive kind of time, I suppose.
Yeah. Or in combat.
Yeah. Like those things are useful, and that's why they exist, you know?
Right.
And again, it's hard because we live in a society doesn't need them quite as we originally developed them, but those things exist for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and this is why, you know, supporting veterans and having like reintegration services would be really cool, but obviously we don't do that, so that's fun. That's cool. That's good.
Very sick of us to do that. Yeah. Especially when a lot of the veterans are, you know, people from low income areas that got tricked into joining the military so they could go to college.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Good country.
Good stuff all
anyway,
around.
Happiness. Uplifting.
Back to happiness.
Yes.
So yeah, and I don't know.
Bring us up.
I felt pretty I think it was just uplifting to hear this kind of stuff, because
it is.
It makes you feel like, oh, like maybe human beings aren't these like vicious like primitive creatures like that revert back to this, you know, animalistic
like Lord of
instincts.
the Flies type.
when society collapses, you're like, oh, human beings generally do love each other and do want to see the best for everybody else.
Exactly. And like, not to be like hopelessly optimistic, but to quote Mr. Rogers, he said like, look for the hero in every situation, or something like that. Where he was just saying like, in all of these, like in the darkest of times and these disasters, like look around and see what the most positive parts of this is, which is like people naturally going to support each other and like banding together in the time of crisis type thing. And it's real. It's a real thing. We've experienced it ourselves under like multiple instances. I myself have like literally experienced this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's amazing what people will do when they are when they're put into a situation like this. Like, I mean, you see it all the time, like people just rising to the occasion to be like, I'm here to help,
Exactly. And I think even in like smaller situations, like I feel like, we've experienced it among like our friends with like whatever our own little thing is that's going on. Like somebody's having like a hard time and it's sort of crisisy, and we're all able to like come together and like support the person. And I think like if you look hard enough, you can find it in like a lot of instances in life. It doesn't have to be like this massive disaster. It can be like something that is still traumatic in life, but just on like a sort of a smaller scale. Little T trauma, as the therapists call it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I just think it's, and again, that's like why those kinds of friend groups and those kinds of, that kind of support feels so good to have, is that I feel like humans are supposed to have that. We're supposed to live like that.
Exactly. Well, and like, I don't know, I resent so much people that are like, oh, in the future, we're only going to live in AI and people aren't even going to look at each other anymore. And it's like, literally take the fucking pandemic as a huge example of how much we crave human intimacy and human connection and human community. Like, I could barely go a fucking week. I was losing my goddamn mind. Like, and I think all of us were, and we all, like, I do not ever predict a future wherein which the majority of people will isolate themselves to replace it with synthetic connection. There's just, it's that isn't real. It's not a real thing.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think especially when we see how terrible the isolation that we currently have is, and like how that leads to so much mental distress, I feel like when you push it even further, I think people will rebel against that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting talking to people who are like, society's doomed because technology. And I'm like, I mean, a little bit, yes, but also like, I just do not predict that there will ever be a time where people willingly are massively isolating themselves from other people. I know there's individuals that do that, but like, I think that the majority of people like to connect with other people physically in reality.
Yeah, you know? I agree. Absolutely. And I mean, I feel like technology has doomed us in some ways, but I'm not worried I'm not worried about AIs as much as I'm worried about like nuclear weapons,
Exactly.
But that's my piece. Anarchy good ?
Beautifully said.
Yeah,
lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We should take another quick break.
Okay.
And then Phoebe will jump into it.
Yeah.
Second ad.
Something that is here and it's not an ad.
Different, not ads.
What's up?
We back.
Oh, what's up?
In black.
Yeah.
Like the AC/DC song. Trey, that
was
actually.
it you who was telling me that like AC/DC came from like?
Yeah.
Yes.
It came from sewing machines. It's alternate current, direct current.
That's right.
Yeah, because we were playing Sporkle.
Shout out Sporkle. Shout out Sporkle.
It's this like trivia game that you can play with your friends. And it was like AC/DC stands for. And I was like, I fucking know this. Because I read when I was in middle school an AC/DC biography.
And retained it to this day. Damn, look at you go.
It's all in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Rattling around.
Yeah, literally. Like the clicking of a sewing machine. Crazy.
Whoa.
But yeah, I guess like Malcolm Young is the guy's name. It's Angus Young's brother. He's the rhythm guitarist for AC/DC. I guess he worked in a sewing machine factory. And
Crazy.
that's where he got the name. So
he's like, you know what? We should call our band.
And like it is like kind of an underwhelming thing to like learn.
Right.
You're like, so it's from a sewing machine.
Yeah, it's like this like intense rock band, and it's like just some random thing he saw at his sewing machine job.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like some like kind old lady would be like, that means alternate current, direct current, like when she's telling you about her sewing machine.
Exactly. And then she would listen to the music and she'd be like, this is offensive.
This is the devil's music. Old ladies. Gotta love them.
Old ladies.
There's only two genres. There's like shitty ones and then there's cool ass ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like the best old ladies you know and the worst old ladies you know.
I was I guess not lucky, but I was able to have two of those as grandparents.
Oh,
like my one that's still alive is like the coolest old lady you'll ever meet. Like she was in like a hippie commune in the 70s, you know? Like
bad bitch.
Yeah, she was killing it. But my other one kind of sucked, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like my grandmas are, well, my one is not around anymore, but I feel like they're pretty dope.
Yeah. I met one of yours.
You did.
And
we had
she was really
Thanksgiving.
nice. Yeah.
She's adorable. She's very cute. So let's talk about some more happy stuff. So as we were saying, Taylor and I decided this week that we wanted to bring you something a little more happy and soul
uplifting,
less soul crushing, soul uncrushing, soul inflating, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because the last one about our presidents being horrible war criminals depressed us for some unknown reason. So
who would have guessed? And I just feel like sometimes too, when you're like constantly looking up bad things like on a week to week basis, you're like, man, I just want to like read about something nice for a change.
I'm just like so tired of the world being. And then, just like our social media is just inundated. You're inundated with like, here's all the worst shit happening.
The doom scrolling, especially if you're like,
God, don't I know it?
Up to date on like current events. You're like constantly seeing bad things. Like,
exactly.
It's hard.
Yeah. I need to just start following like, I don't know. Daniel's like, you need to get on Reddit and I don't know.
Like nice little pages.
Yeah. Instead of, avoid the like scary stuff, but just follow like cute animals and like happy
there's one that's
greyhounds.
like r/aw and it's like just cute pets.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it's adorable.
He sends me things from like r/eyebleach all the time.
Oh,
that's like eyebleach is like just literally just nice things. Like it's like a tiger playing with its ball or something. Exactly, or like a mother cat licking her baby.
I love wholesome memes on Twitter.
Yes, I love wholesome memes. It's so cute. I love the "Are you winning, son?" and it's always like so nice.
It's cute.
Oh my god. Anyway, so as Taylor was saying, or as Taylor sort of brought up, like the light with the dark. So there's like, it's not that sad, but anyway, because I so often talk about the climate crisis and the seemingly imminent doom that it will bring us, I figured that I should talk about something that can be a solution for us and the hope that we could see with just one little organism, because I feel bad to be constantly like, just listing all of these horrible things and never giving any sort of like, here's what we could do about it.
What's the best thing to do? Yeah.
Yes. And so our little tiny organism that could save our entire world, fungi.
How did I know you were going to say that?
Absolutely. It's true.
Yeah.
Fungus could very likely be the key to saving our entire planet, and I'm not exaggerating. A couple years ago, I watched the documentary Fantastic Fungi on Netflix, and in my typical Phoebe fashion, I absolutely suggest it to everyone. I love a documentary. And it shifted my entire perspective on life. And again, I know I sound like I'm being dramatic, and maybe I am, but genuinely shifting my mind towards more toward how to work with the gifts that nature has given us has made it easier for me to be hopeful when everything is falling apart around us.
I feel like you've been talking about that documentary specifically for like years at this point.
Yes, it's been.
So I feel like it's not an exaggeration to say that like did impact your life very heavily.
Really did. Like really truly changed, like, I don't know, just a lot of my thoughts on the possibilities of our world, I guess, or like what our future is going to be if we choose to go the route of the fungi. So let's talk vocabulary first. What is fungi? What is a mushroom? And what is mycelium? And my little dictionary definitions here are from the beautiful Wikipedia. So shout out Wiki.
Shout out Wiki. Donate $10.
Yeah. Quote, a fungus is any member of the group of eukaryotic organisms that includes microorganisms such as yeasts and molds, as well as the more familiar mushrooms. These organisms are classified as a kingdom separately from the other eukaryotic kingdoms, which by one traditional classification include Plantae, Animalia, Protozoa, and Chromista. So they are basically their own separate kingdom from everything. Fungi is its own thing.
Its own thing, yeah.
All on its own. Fungi are what we can see eating our bread when it's too old or too moist. Fungus is what helped you make that bread. And fungus is what will eat you and break down your matter when you die. Fungus is the part of the mushrooms that you can't see. Fungus basically covers the entire planet and we can't even see it. Literally, in the documentary, it says something like every single step that you take there's fungus.
Yeah, like you're always around.
Yes, literally, it's surrounds us.
Wow.
Every part of our lives, there's fungus. It's unavoidable, folks. Mold and mushrooms is the fruiting body of the fungus. This is the part of fungus that we can see and that we are the most familiar with. So, as I was saying, that bread, when you look at your bread and it's all fucking green and disgusting, that's fungus. That's the fruiting body of fungus that you can see.
I see.
And, and I'll get more into it later, but as, gross as it is, it's not evil. It's not necessarily bad. Mold can be looked at as a bad thing, but it's actually, one of the most beneficial parts of our world.
Well, it's how, things break down.
Exactly.
It's how you return your atoms and your nutrients back to the earth.
Exactly.
As a person,
sir.
and just, as, food,
Yeah. And then, of course, we all know mushrooms. A mushroom or toadstool is the fleshy, quote from Wikipedia, sorry, quote, a mushroom or toadstool is the fleshy, spore-bearing, fruiting body of a fungus, typically produced above ground on soil or on its food source. Toadstool generally denotes one poisonous to humans. Toadstool is just kind of a word that's back in the day was used, which it's kind of adorable when you think about it, because aw,
it's a little stool.
It's a little tiny for the little
frogs to hop on.
But yeah, I think kind of nowadays toadstool has shifted over to mean non-edible or poisonous mushrooms.
Cool.
It's just a colloquialism, if you will. Anyhow.
Yeah.
The spores are one of the ways that mushrooms protect themselves and reproduce. You'll notice that, you may have seen videos where somebody, taps a mushroom and, poof, this big thing of all of this, powder basically comes out of the top of it.
I've done that, though.
Yeah.
I recall images of my childhood, mowing the lawn, and, you mow over, a group of mushrooms, and it,
yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
You produce spores, sir. And that's how more mushrooms can grow, is the spore will fly away and plant itself somewhere else. And this also can protect itself. Some mushroom spores are toxic if you breathe them in. So be careful if you're out there foraging, folks. The other way that mushrooms or fungus reproduce, in the sense that they do reproduce, I suppose, is mycelium. Quote, mycelium is a root-like structure of fungus consisting of a mass of branching thread-like hyphae. Fungal colonies composed of mycelium are found in and on soil and many other substrates. A typical single spore germinates into a monokaryotic mycelium, which cannot reproduce sexually. When two compatible monokaryotic mycelia join and form a dikaryotic mycelium, that mycelium may form fruiting bodies such as mushrooms. A mycelium may be minute, forming a colony that is too small to see, or may grow to span thousands of acres. So all of that is to say, mycelium is kind of the roots of a mushroom. Really, essentially, fungi is mycelium.
Okay.
That's the part of fungus that is fungus is mycelium.
I see.
And if you look it up, it's usually these sort of white, teeny tiny little root-like things. And yeah, sometimes you can't see it. That's where I'm saying, every step you take, every breath you take,
you're breathing.
Mycelium is watching you.
Like that Police song.
Exactly. And that's what you can't see, is these microscopic mycelium. And then other times you may see
Sorry, I'm just thinking about the police writing that song from the point of view of mycelium. Okay, anyway.
Oh my god, beautiful. And then, you know, sometimes you'll be able to see, like, even when mushrooms are growing, you'll see this like white, like little rooty arms growing out, or like fibrous kind of things, and that's the mycelium that you can see. Anywho, so as I said, essentially the fungus is the mycelium, and the mushroom or the mold is sort of more like the flower of the fungus, if you will. Okay, so base knowledge, just so you can understand what I'm fucking talking about. So why is this weird, creepy, not exactly a plant and not exactly an animal so important? There's a million reasons why fungi are so important. I could literally go on for fucking hours. But one of the first and most practical reason is that fungi decompose, as you were saying, Taylor, and then recompose organic matter. And sometimes not organic matter, but we'll get to that later.
Well, and from like a gardening perspective, like the when food starts to break down, like that's what makes up compost, you know, like that's, and it helps other things grow. Like,
exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, fungus basically creates dirt and nutrient-rich soil that allows us to grow food at all. Without it, we would not be able to grow
truly
any sort of vegetables or fruit or anything like that. So when an organism is dead, fungus finds its way over and begins breaking down the matter in the dead organism. And this could be any kind of thing: tree, fox, human, flower, whatever. This is the process we see when we come upon, for example, an animal dead in the woods whose body is quote-unquote rotting. It's actually being decomposed by fungi. The fungus breaks down the matter in the organism and returns the beneficial nutrients to the earth. Some people describe this as like eating. That's not really what it's doing. The fungus is sort of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like absorbing it and rotting it, decomposing it, and then it literally turns it into, like Taylor was saying, soil and nitrogen and all of these extremely beneficial nutrients to promote life. These nutrients then go on to create new life or support existing life. Essentially, fungi are fully responsible for the circle of life, and without fungi, we would be living amongst corpses, and no plant life could grow on our planet. Literally.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And, you know, if corpses just sit there, they emit this, like, horrible toxic shit.
They're not good to just be around.
So we would be dead without the fungi. And we would literally not ever have began life without fungi. And this is what I mean when I say God is a fungus. Literally, we would not exist. No life would exist on this planet without fungus. Okay? Do you understand?
Everything checking out here? Yeah, are you with me?
God is fungus? Great.
Cool.
I'm telling you, I go a little crazy over this shit.
We should make shirts that say God is a fungus and has like a big mushroom on it.
I would love to, with like Ariana Grande ponytail and like lips.
Exactly, yeah.
Please, that would be so, I would literally wear that. So how are fungi going to save our lives? As I'm sure you're all too well aware, our bee population has been dramatically declining over the last several years. This is due to multiple factors, including loss of habitat caused by expansion of cities, and like deforestation, you know, all that shit. The fact
humans
humaning, us taking like natural resources and using them for not great things. You know, there's been pesticides and the spread of viruses among bees, and the rise of mites, which is also, you know, due to like global climate change and deforestation, you know, all of this is caused by we suck a bit. So varroa mites are one of these bee colony killers. The mites feed on the larva of the honeybee and on the blood, quote unquote, of the worker bees, and this weakens their immune systems and makes them vulnerable to viruses. And then obviously if they're eating the larva, then there's less babies to like replace the other bees that are now dead because of this mite. And so the virus kills off the worker bees who leave the hive to pollinate, and like bring back like good things for the hive. And so when these worker bees die, that forces the hive to replace them with other essential bee workers who usually stay in the hive, such as like nurse bees and things like that. I mean, they have an entire like community system. There's a whole, bees are so fucking cool.
Hive mind,
Yeah, I'm terrified of bees, but they're very cool. I just think I'm afraid they're going to sting me.
I feel like bees are like homies. It's wasps that you
Yeah.
gotta, like fucking watch out
And
for.
it's absolutely true. And I'm pretty sure in like the first grade, here's why I'm afraid of bees, people. In like the first grade, I was playing and just dancing around by myself, and I got bit twice, probably by a wasp, because I don't recall there being like the little stinger in my skin.
Yeah.
But ever since then, anything black and yellow that's flying through the air, I don't trust it.
Trust issues.
Yeah.
Truly.
I don't swat. I never swat because I don't want to hurt a bee.
Of course.
But I just
you will
quickly walk away.
Remove yourself from the
yes,
situation.
quickly and efficiently. And so, with this process of this virus killing the kind of first responders, I suppose, of the bee colonies, and then the other ones going out to try and like fix it, this slowly depletes the colony until there's no bees left. And this whole process can take about 2 years with this mite and is known as colony collapse disorder. This is basically the problem that is killing the bees around us, is this colony collapse disorder. I mean, this fucking goes back to what you were just saying with the whole anarchy or like communal living thing, is literally these bees, without every member of their bee tribe doing the jobs that the bees provide, it all falls apart, and then the bees die, and then everything else dies, because also we need bees to survive. This has been the cause of the loss of about 40% of colonies in the U.S. from 2017 to 2018. That's a massive loss.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is where the fungus comes in. Beekeepers and bee researchers needed to find a solution to kill these mites, but be gentle enough not to harm the bees, because as I was saying, the pesticides would also just in turn fuck up the bees as well. So,
yeah.
Paul Stamets, who is a world famous mycologist, if you watch Fantastic Fungi or read the book, you will know exactly who I'm talking about. We love him. He's our king, our friend, our man.
Sexy fungus daddy.
Sexy fungus daddy. He is. And a mycologist is a person who studies fungi.
Yeah.
He began researching using mycelium extracts to boost the immune system of the bees with success. The bees lived longer and the virus levels in bees reported lower. Researchers then used the metarhizium fungus to attack the mites. Metarhizium will grow on mites and kill them, but in the right dosages, it won't harm the bees. So researchers also found massive success with using extracts of reishi mushroom, which is a mushroom that can also be extremely beneficial to humans. When applying extracts of reishi mushrooms to bee colonies, the numbers were astounding. Extreme decreases in virus activity in colonies, for example, 45,000 to 1 against the Lake Sinai virus, which was responsible for many deaths of bees.
Yeah.
Which, again, that's an astounding number. 45,000 to 1. Acting against Lake Sinai virus.
Yeah.
Extracts from other mushrooms proved to be extraordinary in protecting bee populations from viruses as well. Paul Stamets and his colleague Steve Shepard, professor of apiculture and chair of the Department of Entomology at WSU, hope to take their bee-saving mushroom extracts worldwide and drastically improve the size of bee colonies. And so, yeah, they basically, so that they could have like a good reading on what was going on, they were testing these extracts on like captive colonies, so like people who like own bees personally rather than wild colonies. But
makes sense.
It was like an insane drastic response to just adding these like extracts of mycelium from, not mushrooms, I guess, the fungi, mycelium, to these colonies.
Well, and I was gonna say, and I'm sure you'll probably get to this, but like if it's so beneficial with bees, it's probably good for humans as well.
Absolutely.
And I've been seeing a lot of these ads on YouTube, which are like, of course, which are like, they'll be like, shrooms get a bad rap, but it's like this like mud stuff that like is all
I've
mushrooms.
seen that. Yeah, the mud water thing.
And it's just like mushrooms that are supposed to help your like immune system, your like, stomach, if you have stomach issues, just things like that, which I'm sure mushrooms also do, because they do everything.
Exactly, yeah, because they're the key to everything in the world, to improving our lives.
Existence.
Tenfold, yes. And I will definitely talk about that a little bit. So fungus has another magical property hidden up its sleeve. It doesn't just break down organic material, it can also break down and recycle man-made materials that have been sitting in landfills and harming our planet. Researchers have been observing fungi's incredible ability to adapt to our ever-changing environment and their success with turning all material around them into nutrients for organic life. This process is known as mycoremediation, harnessing the incredible powers of fungi and using it to help us heal the planet that we have greatly harmed. Fungi are capable of mind-blowing feats. There are species that are able to survive and thrive without sunlight, which is something that no other or not organic, I guess, no other like life is able to survive on this planet without sunlight.
Yeah.
They communicate with trees and other fauna around them to send the proper nutrients, and the trees even use the fungi to communicate with each other. There was research done where there was like some kind of, probably a mite or something, was like attacking these trees, and the trees like communicated with the fungus telling them like, we need X nutrient to help us fight this thing, and the fungi literally sent that nutrient out and helped these trees survive this attack.
It's fucking crazy.
It's bananas, bro. Some researchers even believe that fungi are capable of thought and have produced thus far that this is mostly accurate. Literally, like,
I mean, plants, I've been saying for a sec that plants have fucking minds, dude.
They do.
Literally, there's these things, and this is a little bit of a tangent,
no, please.
But there's these things called mother trees that exist, and mother trees. And basically, what they do is it's a tree that has such a big root system that it doesn't need all the nutrients that it gets.
Yes.
So it will literally send nutrients to other trees and other bodies of like trees that exist.
Yes. And do you know how it does that? Through the mycelium networks.
Probably, yeah. That makes sense.
Like, oh my God, I know. I and this is another subject that I could go on about for hours, but I find it so, like, literally I find it like offensive to be under the impression that like the only organism that's capable of like complex thought is human beings. I think that is such a fucking stupid like hill to die on. I'm like, you're telling me that a dog can't have like complex thought? I don't fucking think so. I don't think dogs are just like doing like survival instincts, and I think that plants, I mean, look at them, look at how nature works. It's a way fucking smarter than we are. I think we're the dumbest. Frankly.
True. No, I absolutely agree. I think because like an animal or a creature's thought is different than yours, people are so quick to be like, well, they're just stupid. And
exactly.
It's like,
they're not as advanced as us.
We've seen time and time again that like animals, like even just like mammals, are like incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
You know? Like my cat, Miss Moonshine, laying on the bed, like she has emotions, you know, like
fully.
she's happy. She knows when she's sad. Like she gets mad at me when I'm gone too long. Like she's fully capable of these kinds of thoughts.
Like it's not just like, and I would say lizard brain, but also I'm sure lizards are capable of complicated thought as well. But like, yeah, they're not just like fucking acting instinctually and like whatever. Even animals that are not domesticated have full range of emotions. They like did some tests where they were like tickling a squirrel or something, and they're like, oh my God, it laughs. And I'm like, no fucking shit, bitch. Of course it does. Like, you see wild animals interacting with each other and like making, like being silly and getting joy out of it in a way that we could attribute to laughter. Like,
true, yeah. No,
anyway.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, plants and fungi are also extremely capable of things that are similar to like thought. And also our definition of thought is fucking stupid and we don't even know what it is. So whatever, people suck. Anyway, right. Have basically proven that fungi are capable of like complex thought. The DNA structure of a fungus is far closer to human beings than a plant's even. But crazy. I digress. Moral of the story is we all need to respect the fungus a hell of a lot more because God is a fungus.
They know what they be doing.
Scientists found that oyster mushrooms were able to break down the type of plastic used in shopping bags down to the dye used in the ink on the bags, which can be extremely detrimental to fucking nature. And they can turn it back into nutrient-rich organic material. They can literally eat a fucking shopping bag, a shitty plastic shopping bag that's choking the fucking fish to death, and turn it into like nutrient-dense soil or organic material.
So crazy.
And this entire mycoremediation process only takes about 45 days.
Oh my gosh, for a plastic bag?
Yes.
Aren't plastic bags take like 300 years
Yes.
to decompose like naturally.
Yes, but
That's
when you add
crazy.
fungi to the mix, about a month.
That's like a month and a half.
Shocking. Like, mind-blowing.
Fucking crazy.
Mind-blowing.
Okay, yeah, wild.
This is why I say this is the key to, like, saving
Yeah.
us. White rot fungus has been found to break down phenolic compounds, which can be found in disinfectants, petroleum, and resins, and is toxic to human and animals, and plants probably as well. It also will break down man-made plastics and completely replace them with organic, non-toxic material. And I forgot, I'm gonna pull up this picture right now because I need you to see how, like, this is fucking mind-blowing. White rot fungus. White.
Fucking crazy. I mean, yeah, that's like, I'm just wondering, and I'm sure there's some bullshit capitalist reason why this is the case, but like,
Right.
why aren't we already doing this more? Like, I mean, I guess obviously because, you know, capitalism makes us want to fill up landfills, you know, but
And my guess would be that because this is like a renewable resource that's pretty fucking easy to create and grow on your own, that like capitalism isn't going to just do it because it's essentially like free.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
You can't really
Like,
make money
you
off of it.
can't-
Anyway, so here is a picture of white rot fungus breaking down and replacing a plastic spoon with organic material.
Shit. Okay. How long? Does it say how long? Pictures from
Let me see. I don't know if I have the.
the day. I mean, that's still crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't like year. I mean, obviously it
There
was
it is.
enough time to get a before and after. of the
Right,
thing.
exactly.
So like more, like less than the like what 300 years it usually takes for plastic to break
Exactly.
down.
Let me see if I can find it. I have the article that I was looking at.
And then not only that, but to think that this is like a 100% natural way, because like it's not like putting any kind of toxins into like the atmosphere. It's not, you're not breathing in any kind of toxins.
Exactly.
as
Like,
long
it's
as
a
done in a safe
naturally
way. Like,
occurring.
yeah. Like, this shit just already here.
I don't have the timeline for you on that.
That's all right.
So sorry. But yeah, obviously they could produce it before and after picture, so
Yeah.
quick enough that they can do that. There it is. Mycologists have found fungi to break down styrofoam, recycle petroleum oils, and even to reduce toxic waste by essentially absorbing it and using it to promote their own growth. Researchers found fungi growing around the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. You may remember that from earlier episodes.
Oh my
y'all.
goodness. Chernobyl.
Chernobyl.
That one place where nothing bad happened.
Yeah, ever. They found that fungi growing around Chernobyl were absorbing the radioactive material and reducing the levels of radiation around them.
Shit.
Yes. Like, literally, you know,
It just does everything.
it does everything. There's an answer, there's a key
Just
to
goes
everything.
all the way to the top.
Like, literally, though, you know, whenever, like, nuclear war happens, here's a piece of hope that we can have for, like,
True.
making this planet livable again if there's radiation everywhere. Mycelium can be used as building material for homes, extremely effective insulation, and even as biodegradable coffins that could turn graveyards into lush forest nourished by our own passed on loved ones.
Truly.
And they have literally created like structures out of compacted mycelium, and it's like very sturdy, but it's also light, and
Oh,
so
wow.
it's easy to like move it around and everything and like build things with it, but when you need it to, it can stand against like nature and shit.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. We could be working with nature to thrive on our planet and foster the growth of beneficial plant life if we could shift over to a more mycologically centered world. As I was saying, like, fungus is literally the center of everything. It's the creation of life, and it's the recycling of life. And if we could like focus on the fucking fungus, people,
Yeah.
we could be saved. Mushrooms have incredible potential to save and improve life on our planet if only we choose to pay attention to them. Many of us are already implementing the power of mushrooms in our daily lives. Mushrooms are not only the creator of life, but also a delicious and nutrient-dense food, as you were saying, Taylor. The properties that edible mushrooms can have can be extremely life-changing. Turkey tail mushrooms contain polysaccharidopeptides, which can boost your body's immune system and fight cancer cells. Researchers have found that combining turkey tail mushrooms and maitake mushrooms was effective in stopping colon cancer cells from spreading and even enhanced the effectiveness of the drug used to treat colon cancers. Patients with lung cancer who added turkey tail supplements to their radiation treatment lived longer and healthier lives with improvement to their appetite and immune system while undergoing radiation, which is very difficult on the human body.
Yeah.
Paul Stamets' own mother was diagnosed with terminal stage 4 breast cancer, and she was given no more than 3 months to live. Because of her age at 80 years old, doctors determined that she was too old to undergo radiation therapy or a mastectomy. And so she began taking turkey tail supplements along with a few other supplements, and as of 2018, she had lived for a decade past her diagnosed date. At the time of writing Fantastic Fungi, she was 93 years old and thriving.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I don't know now. I don't have the
Yeah, she
update
may
now.
have
I'm
passed,
sure
but-
she was fucking 93, so she might not be around anymore.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean,
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I've had some, quote unquote non-edible mushrooms that have been pretty life-changing myself.
oh
so,
no, absolutely, and that's
like
that's another.
psychedelic mushrooms.
Yes, and that's definitely another piece I'll bring up, not in depth, but yeah, I mean, and that is
Truly.
another huge, I mean, massive, like life-changing use for mushrooms that we should absolutely be doing and using.
Yeah. Truly, yeah.
I've recently started my sweet Tonks baby, my little doggy, on turkey tail supplements, and hopefully this can help with her cancer diagnosis and keep her tumors at bay. And there's been a lot of studies done on the effectiveness of turkey tail on cancer in dogs, and the results have been very promising. There was, I forgot to copy paste the study, but there was like these dogs that had like this specific really aggressive type of cancer that usually is pretty like it's pretty much like a dunzo diagnosis if you get it. They did like a control group with no treatment, because you won't treat this kind of cancer with any sort of like chemo or anything. So they did a control group with no treatment. They did a control group with 50 milligrams of turkey tail, and a control group with, or not a control group, and a group with 100 milligrams of turkey tail. And it was like the control group lived like 89 days. The 50 milligram group lived like 113 days. And then the 100 milligram group lived like 199 days.
Okay, yeah.
Solely with turkey tail supplements.
Crazy.
And with like the most like terminal of cancers that a dog can get. So I mean, there's been studies with photos I saw with my own eyeballs of dogs taking turkey tail and their tumors visibly shrinking. I mean, it's I don't want to say like put all of your fucking stock into like a goddamn mushroom, but also like utilize this. I wish I had fucking known about this when I got her diagnosis. I would have started her on it immediately.
Yeah.
And who's to say what the outcome could have been, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I personally take a blend of 10 mushrooms every day because like why the fuck not, right?
Yeah.
Like
they're tasty.
found some online. It's just a little fucking powder. I put it in my smoothies and
Yeah.
it's
Honestly, send me that.
I will. And yeah, it's supposed to, I mean, there's 10 different mushrooms that have like a million different fucking health benefits that are supposed to be amazing. And I don't know, I struggle sometimes. So I figured,
Why the fuck not?
why not? I mean, I have this incredible organism right in front of me begging to be used to like help me have an amazingly improved life. So like, God damn it, do it. Lion's mane mushroom can support the health of neural pathways and help create new neural pathways. This has been found to aid in improvements with depression and anxiety, and research has been and is currently being conducted with the benefits of lion's mane alongside with Alzheimer's and dementia patients. So because this can support neural pathways, it's helping to like retain the memories that people with these diseases have. And then it can also help to like forge new neural pathways in order to help them like create new memories and retain new memories and just have like healthier brain chemistry overall.
Yeah.
And to go off of what you were saying, psilocybin mushrooms have been fully proven to forge new neural pathways in the brain and to be an instrumental tool in healing depression, trauma, and other mental health disorders.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that they have, at least in the past couple of years, started using psilocybin along with like MDMA and things for like PTSD treatment.
Right.
And stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, it obviously has not only physical benefits, but in this case too, like mental benefits for humans.
Exactly. And in the Fantastic Fungi documentary, they talk about psilocybin therapy, and they show people's like psilocybin therapy experiences. And there's a man who has extreme obsessive compulsive disorder. It's like very detrimental on his life. And he had a child. And after he had his baby, he was like so obsessively worried about the baby dying that he like almost couldn't even leave his house. He just was he was like debilitated by this. And he did one psilocybin therapy treatment, and with that one treatment he was like almost completely cured from his obsessive compulsive, to the point where like he had a very healthy relationship with his child. He was able to like feel and trust that like his child was going to be safe. It was 100% life-changing for him within like one therapy session.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And it's there's several other stories just like that where people were able to like overcome extreme traumas or mental health disorders, or just like have a complete 180 and much better like outlook on life with one singular treatment.
Absolutely insane, love.
And like I'm a huge proponent of therapy, and I think that like you should do therapy even if you consider yourself to be like a very healthy person. But I think also like for people who struggle really deeply, this sort of therapy could be so life-changing.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you have like deep traumas or, you know, extreme mental health disorders, like doing this as like as a large move to like shift your brain and literally create new neural pathways in your brain to be like, hey man, everything's gonna be okay. And then like continue treatment with therapy and everything. I mean, this is going to be and should be like life-changing for people. And I hope that it like continues to keep being like approved and experimented with and like legalized, because god damn it, like
it's amazing.
This is a miracle sitting right here in front of us. And again, like if there's any like psychoactive material that I'm going to trust to like guide me through life, it would be fungi, because seriously, because they've been here since this was the first organism ever on this planet. It literally created you. It created your life, and it knows how to like carry you on into the next one. And like I just, god damn it, like this could be everything.
No, I agree.
Finn.
No, that's wild. And I mean, I've talked to people who even just like in a non-therapeutic setting have done mushrooms and been like, oh yeah, like this completely changed my outlook on like this one specific thing, you know? And like, so it's not even in just, you know, I feel like you can talk to anybody who's done mushrooms and they probably will have somewhat of a similar story where they're like, I was really struggling with this thing, and then it just helped me like see it from a different perspective.
Exactly.
You know?
Or even just like experience and be like, oh my god, I understand our connection to like nature and earth and how we need to be like behaving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outside of like, you know, our everyday. And in the documentary too, there was a guy, I can't remember exactly the story. It might have been Paul, but I might be wrong. I can't remember. But he had like a really, really, really bad stutter as a child and was just struggling really bad. He took mushrooms, went up into a tree. A crazy storm was happening, and like it changed his, you know, he had all these crazy revelations. And then when he like came out of it, he did not stutter anymore ever again.
It's so crazy.
Like, oh my god, it's so crazy. So yeah, Phoebe's Rex at the end of this. Fantastic Fungi is a documentary on Netflix. I would say maybe watching the documentary before you read the book is a good idea, because I think it really piques your interest and you're just like, what the fuck, this is amazing. And then reading the book, it goes into way more detail about like how all this shit actually works. I feel like the documentary kind of just alludes to like, this could be crazy, and then like doesn't really say exactly how or why. So when you read the book, it gives you like the dirty details of like, this is how these mushrooms work and how they can fucking save everything in the world. And then there's another documentary on Netflix that I can't fucking remember what it's called right now, but it goes through, it talks about psilocybin, MDMA, LSD, and I think peyote. and it talks about like their therapeutic uses and just like how incredible they've been in like helping people with like mental health disorders and everything. So I can't remember what that one is called, but search around and I'm sure you'll find it. I'm sure if you watch Fantastic Fungi, it'll be like, watch this other drug movie. And then also another one that is less like wow, therapy and amazing things, and more just like we need to really be looking at like psychoactive drugs differently, is called Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. And
I've heard of that one.
Really good. It's this guy who's like so hilariously dorky and he goes around and just like explores these different psychoactive drugs and where they are on the street and where they are being used like in labs and therapeutically and everything. And he's like super respectful and just like shows you like, hey, these things are not evil and we need to appreciate them more. So yeah there's my Rex, everyone.
Yeah, I've heard of
How to Change Your Mind. That's what it's called. That's
nice.
what the thing on Netflix is called. It's also a book, so do both.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard of Hamilton's cornucopia?
Pharmacopoeia.
Because Eden has said a lot of good things about it. So
We'll have to talk then.
I'm sure
we'll have to have a chat. Yeah, How to Change Your Mind. That was the one. Give that a watch, and it's also a book. And then Hamilton's, and then Fantastic Fungi. Okay, the end. Now I'm done.
Cool.
Consume all of that media, everyone.
Do it. Finger guns.
Consume media.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks. Well,
anyway,
go feel good. Go have a nice day. Feel great. Uplifted.
Life is not terrible.
It's not bleak.
Yeah, there are things you can do, you know?
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a breath of fresh air sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But anyway, pluggables.
Follow us on Instagram at Remarks Podcast.
Follow our Twitter at RemarksPod. You can check out my personal music at Taylor Lacey on Spotify or anywhere else you stream music.
Mm-hmm.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Pretty please. Also, I'm going to plug just my own Twitter because I feel like I do sometimes. Sometimes I put really funny stuff, but then also I will go on like little rants that I don't quite talk about on here, and then, probably I'll talk about it at some point later. But anyway, if you want to see my musings, it's Phoebes Elise, PhoebsElise on Twitter. So check that out if you feel like seeing my everyday random fucking thoughts.
Yeah. Hop on there. I guess I can plug mine too. Mine's at Vegetable Trash.
Yeah.
So. Speaking of decomposing life,
absolutely,
vegetable trash, baby.
Yeah, if you want to see me yell at our political leaders in Utah on the internet.
Yeah, and I tweet a lot about like books and stuff. I guess I do that on the Remarks one as well. But yeah, no, I definitely do that. So, and I talk a lot about like horror books that I read and like some of the more fun books that I read that aren't specifically like political ideology. So,
right.
It's always
so
fun.
yeah, could be fun. Do that if you want.
We do things every now and again.
We do things sometimes.
And you can just see our lives.
Yeah, if you're like so into us, so obsessed. You look crazy.
So obsessed with us. Oh my god. Yeah.
And then you can also follow our Patreon if you want funny, silly, lighthearted content, much like this, although even less
focused.
Yeah, just like funny, just
kind
nice.
of what our last episode was.
Exactly.
We did a little bonus one where we posted where we just talk about like things that are funny. It's less like scripted. It's more just like check out this thing that I found.
Yeah. But thank you to our patrons: Tere Soltero,
Andrew Vass,
Emily Doran,
and Justin Vass.
You guys are hot and sexy and cute, and we love you so much.
Love you.
Woo.
Anyway,
beautiful. Well done.
Truly.
Good night.
Kay, love you.
Kay, love you.
Bye.